little screenshot for you tonight. We got John right up there front and center. And the reason we're doing it that way is we have a little bit of a technical difficulty. Steve is in Arkansas and he's working with his technical people, but we have not been able to get him up into the lobby. And Steve, can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, Bob. Sound great.
Okay, so Steve is on the phone. We're not getting squelching, so we may do a little TV and a little radio here. And let me kill that picture off there. And John, what you got this week? Where you been?
You know what? It's good to be back on solid ground. So nice to be here almost in summer, still wearing long sleeves. Had a great time on the cruise. And I'll tell you one thing, it's like RVing on the water. My wife described it as RVing on the water. The only problem is...
Sure, I can't relate to that. Explain that.
Yeah, it's just, you know what? There was so many nice people. There was food everywhere. Like being on a campground. Good things. It was just great. So we got to get you on a cruise one of these days. And met a lot of other RVers on the cruise. In fact, one of them came from the Midwest, and he was an elk. So he kept his RV at the Elks in Framingham, went on the cruise, and retired young, and was heading up to Canada with, he's going to go up to Canada, then go left. So go west with no intentions, with no timetable. And he just said, I have to be home by a certain date. But it wasn't for work purposes. So it was great. But, one thing we need to keep in mind, while I'll talk a little bit while you're trying to find Steve, but it's very, very important that you'd have to have your head in the sand. In these last few days, the headlines have been about these terrible, terrible, terrible tornadoes out in the Midwest, even as far east as Scranton, Pennsylvania last night, and New Jersey, as well as New York City.
Yeah, they had a tornado warning for New York City.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So, in Scranton, it just showed buildings that were ripped up, and that area of I call it no man's land between Scranton and the New Jersey line, that about 90-mile stretch, the middle of nowhere. I think it's important to tell our viewers to always be aware this summer where they're driving. If you try to fight with a tornado, you're not going to win. And when you see mobile homes, not RVs, but mobile homes that are attached to the ground being picked up and thrown around like toys, imagine what your RV is going to be like. So again, I'm not a safety expert. I'm not a police or fireman.
They got bad weather down in Arkansas, so that could be contributing to some of the signal. Steve, are you still with us?
I'm still here, Bob.
All right.
Figure out the mechanics here, but I'm not having any luck.
Okay, well, welcome to RVing in New England. We got Walter Swenson on. He's our Mass State Director. Him and his lovely wife, Donna, who just put on a tremendous rally out in Greenfield, Mass. And John went out there for a couple of days. Jerry Plant from Majors RV is on. Michelle Fontaine from Rolling On TV, and two gals in a Boston brood. I forget what the name of that is now, but her and Laurie and the two dogs. So welcome, guys. We're glad to have you on the show tonight. Steve, let's try verbally here and tell us a little bit about yourself. And John, you be the kind of the referee there. Let me know if you're hearing it okay through there, because if you're hearing it, everybody else is okay.
Yeah. So go right ahead.
So give us a little intro, Steve, and tell us a little bit about Workamper.
Welcome to New England, Steve.
Thank you very much. Yeah, when you mentioned you were wearing long sleeve shirts, it's been in the 80s and 90s here in Arkansas, and I spent a lot of time in Texas also, and we haven't seen spring weather since about the 1st of April, so I'm a little jealous, I'll be very honest.
I don't know. I left Maine this morning. I think it was about 45 degrees when we left, and it was raining and kind of ugly. It felt like an October day.
I had the heater on in the car.
Yeah.
Refused to put it on at home, but I had it on in the car. So, Steve, tell us what Workamping is, and describe what it is, because a lot of people hear the term, but there's so many misnomers about it.
Well, a big thing that I like to share with people especially when I do presentations, is I help people understand, don't make it too difficult. I've had thousands of people through the years. I've been working with Workampers now about 34 years. And many of them come and say, well, I'm not a Workamper because I don't do this, or I don't do this, or I don't get too difficult. You're a Workamper if you travel, predominantly live in an RV, even though that's changing because, we're seeing some of these new structures that people are building that aren't necessarily classified as RVs. But if you travel, you live in that type of a piece of equipment, and you work, you're a Workamper. And it doesn't even mean that you're working for an employer. That means you could be working for yourself, because we're seeing a large surge of the entrepreneurial spirit of the individuals that are traveling the country now and RVing and living on the road. So Workamper, simply put, you work, you travel, and you experience the open road. And it's pretty much that simple.
That's a great explanation. Am I wrong in my understanding? And Mark Polk just joined us from RV Education 101. Hi, Mark. But is it getting more popular, or because of your marketing efforts and the way you're building out the company? I know you purchased it in 2005, but there seems to be more talk about it now. Is that an economic thing? Is it the fact that you're promoting it, or the many benefits that you as an association, as Workamper News, and we'll get into some of those, the things that you're doing, but why are we seeing the rise in discussion about Workamping?
Well, my ego would say, yes, Bob, it's because of everything I've done over the past 14 years owning the company. And I truly do believe that it's because of some of the things that we've done, but I also believe it's where we are as a nation. And as what we're seeing, as you have probably seen in the RV industry, we're seeing a lot of millennials who are discarding the agenda that you and I grew up with. And I think I'm older than you are, Bob. I'm 65. Hey,
Steve, I was 75.
You're a baby.
I was 75 in March. I got 10 years on you.
You didn't have to say that. I was going to give you that benefit.
No, I brag about it.
Anyway, the picket fence, having the home, and all of that, that really is being discarded by a lot of individuals. And being able to travel and experience this great country while you still can physically be able to enjoy it, I think that's what a lot of it is that we're seeing. I don't have to tell you, because you guys are involved in the dealers associations and so on. The demographics of the people that are buying the rigs has changed some. Of course, in our business of Workamper News and all these years, our average age is still right at about 58.
Interesting.
As far as our membership.
Hey, Steve. With that being said, is Workamping only for retirees, or can people that are under 65 or the traditional retirement age get involved in this phenomenon?
Doesn't make a difference whether they're retired or not. We have so many folks who we're hearing from individuals that are now making more economics. Their economics is better. They're making more money living on the road, full-timing it, than they ever did in their sticks and bricks working the 9 to 5. And so, yeah, things are definitely, it doesn't have to be you're old enough to, have the Social Security check and have the 401k kick in and all that. That's not the reality anymore, for sure.
And technology helps that too. They're able to do that. So I would have loved to have done what the millennials are doing now when I was that age. You had the wanderlust, but you didn't have the means, nor did you have the technology that would allow you to do it in the way that these people can.
And they didn't have electricity yet, Bob.
Well, that's true. I remember going from the horse and buggy to the Model A, John.
So, hey, Steve, we need to tell you what's going on here. We've got your picture up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it with your assistant there.
I don't know if Robin's got it brought up on the other screen, if she's watching on another computer. But I did put your picture up, so
yeah. But Bob, can you shake the picture so it looks like his lips are moving?
Right. So, let me explain, because we've just had a big jump in viewers, so we know we have a hot topic. For the viewers that just joined, Steve is with us on the phone. He's having some technical difficulties down in Arkansas. They're having some bad weather. They've had bad weather. But I put his picture up there so you know it's really him talking on the phone. And thankfully, we're not getting any squelching or background. So pretend he's on the program. Ask your questions. Throw your comments up there. We'll pass those over to Steve and we'll run through that. Steve, tell us some of the programs that you've got. Tell us how easy it is for somebody to join Workamper News and why they should, how it works.
Subscribe to it.
Well, Bob, the big thing that we are about, it used to be that when this company was started back in 1987, it was to provide information about the different types of job opportunities that are out there. And through the years, of course, that was pre-internet, okay? And then as the net came along, what took place was more information available. And then we became and have become more of an educational resource. We still provide the connection with the employers. We still publish a magazine. We still put out a hotline every day that goes out to about 30-some thousand every day. And those are hot jobs that go out from employers. But a big part of what we do is education. And Workamper.com, our main website, as well as we now have Workamper Academy, which is a separate training site. The whole purpose is to help people, first of all, decide and determine if the lifestyle's for them. And then if it is, how to go about systematically setting themselves up for success. So as they get into it, it's going to be a positive experience for them.
Right. Steve, I'm gonna put a slide up which you cannot see, but I did take it off your website, and it's the Rendezvous 2019. Now, when you say Workamper Academy, I thought this was referenced on the site as Workamper University. Is there a difference, or are you branding it differently?
Actually, there's a difference. There's university courses that are on Workamper.com, and using some of the newer technology that's out there, it's a different platform. Workamper Academy has provided us the opportunity to expand what we're able to provide in the training materials. And so you'll find good information in both, but you can link right from, as our members have a dashboard, they can actually link right to the academy as well as to the university.
Now there's 4 different levels of membership. You've got the what they call the free, and then you got the gold, and then you got the diamond and the platinum. Right. So they can actually get into your network and into your community free of charge to learn some of the stuff. And obviously there's more benefits the more the different levels that you have. But you want to touch on that at all, or should we refer them to the website? And we will post URLs throughout the show, or after the show we go back, and stuff that we talk about, we'll post them up there.
Okay. Well, the introduction is just that. It's to give them a little flavor, and it's like any program. You want to show people a little bit behind the curtain, and then what we encourage folks to, the majority of our folks are what are called diamond members. Those folks have access to the majority of our tools, and our platinum folks, we've gone a little bit further. We've had many of them who have said, could you actually speak for us? And what we mean by that is we actually build a portfolio for them so that employers can reach out and actually ask us about their background as far as their past Workamping experiences, etc. It's a little agency kind of without being an agency. I tell people we're an agency non-agency.
Okay.
We actually are able to provide that employer with more information about the person's past experiences without them having to go to all the work of doing it. And I can tell you, one of the other companies that I own with Terry Cooper and his wife, we own a campground, and we hire work campers. And it's a lot of work to do a good job of hiring work campers. Yep. And so we've been able to actually provide those employers with additional tools by having these folks be involved at the platinum level.
Yeah, I thought that was unique, the way that you and Terry collaborated on the campground. That's the Texan RV Ranch, which also houses the National RV Training Academy. you want to touch on that a little bit? I think everything you're doing down there is very unique and certainly needed in the industry. But there's a relationship there. Like you say, you have the work campers there, but also in your RV inspection training, you actually train people who can then become work campers. In other words, if they wanted to go out on the road and they learn through your trade school, if you will, how to become an RV inspector, that gives them more impetus to get out on the road as an RV and knowing that they can earn income. So I talked around in circles there a little bit, but kind of address that if you would.
You didn't talk around circles. You talked about around an interstate.
Okay, yeah.
Steve, your turn.
Well, what took place was back actually it was about 2009. I had a number of our members who were asking for more information on how do I take care of these machines that I'm buying that I'm relying on to live in. And, even back then, you guys have been involved in the industry for a long time. Technician shortages, et cetera, is not really new news.
Right.
It's exacerbated right now because, the market has blown up so much in the last few years. And what I started doing was I actually met Mr. Cooper, who was currently at that time, he was teaching RV technicians at the Technical College of Waco, Texas, for the Texas RV Association. And he started doing webinars with me. And so we started providing information to our members using webinar formats. We did many of them. And then we had a lot of them who said, it sure would be nice if you develop a course. About that time, wife and I were kind of getting the itch to get out on the road more. We traded up the motorhome we had to a diesel pusher, and Coopers and the Andersons hit the road in 2013. And from 13 to 16, I put 65,000 miles on that diesel pusher, 40 different states. And we trained well over 1,200 individuals in different parts of the country. And of course, along the way, had to enjoy ourselves by doing it in places like Crescent City, California, under the giant redwoods, to Gulf Shores, in Florida. We had to suffer along the way.
Right.
And that led us to realizing that we needed to have a static location that could provide more resources. And so a couple years ago, we were blessed to have the opportunity to buy the Texan RV Park. It's in Athens, Texas, about 70 miles roughly southeast of Dallas, easy access. And we started construction on the facility. It was May of 2018, I guess it was. And thanks, Robin. She's helped me out with my dates. And we now have we have 12,000 square feet on the main floor. We have a total of 15,000 square feet with classrooms, open bays that we can bring RVs in. We can train RV inspectors. We have a 5-day course that folks are taking. In fact, we have put through, just in the last 2 months, I believe, we've had 4 folks go all the way through the courses, became registered techs with RVIA. And that's just growing and growing and growing. So we're excited, about what we've been blessed to be able to do and see it. It all ties together, Bob. Guys, it all comes together in that I have a very simple philosophy I learned from one of my mentors years ago, and then Zig Ziglar. If we help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
You'll get what you want. Right. I read every one of his books.
You know what? It's 7:20, Bob.
I know, and before we do the commercial, Al Jackson's joined us. Thanks for coming again, Al. And Audrey Foley-Egan has got a question. Audrey says, is there a specific chain of campgrounds that you recruit for? Are these regions that you specialize in? She apologizes she have not yet had a chance to go to your website. So this is the great part about the show. We get the messages out there. We introduce our fans to other people, and yours is a great story. So if you think about the answer, Steve, we have to do our commercial, and then I'm going to keep you on the line there, but we have to do our little duty here. And go ahead, John, share your Facebook.
So what we want to do, as we do it this time every week, folks, at the 20 and the 40-minute marks of our show, we want to thank you for joining us live, and ask that you look down at the bottom of your screen. There's a little button that says share. So if there's anybody that you know that you think would benefit by the information that we're presenting tonight, and we're just scratching the surface with the questions that I've got ready for Steve. This is a very interesting topic because of the climate that we're in right now. So many people are of retirement age, but they're not ready to bag it. They want to do something else. And the days of the person at 65 going to sit in the rocking chair at the nursing home are over. These are people that want to get another 10 or 15 years of activity. And I think on Steve's website, it said that, a job should be fun. And most people spend much of their life in a job that ain't fun. So why not do something that's fun? So please share it. And it will allow us to reach 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people per week. And maybe somebody is going to pick up their internet and go online here and find something that they can do to have fun for the rest of their life. And Bob, you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about a sponsor. This is week 9, but I see I left out the number 9. So the sponsor this week is Pete's RV, headquartered in South Burlington, Vermont, but with facilities in Connecticut and Massachusetts. Pete's RV is a well-respected company in New England, carries several product lines. They also have the Airstream of Vermont dealership. So they do cover Airstream up there for you. So see the boys and the gals at Pete's RV. And they are through the end of June, they have Pete's RV Roadshow at the Rutland Fairgrounds in Rutland, Vermont. So if you're getting up that way, you could hit the roadshow in Rutland and continue on up to South Burlington. So we appreciate Pete's sponsorship, and enter our drawing on the page, the same page that you're watching the program on tonight, and you can win a $100 gift certificate redeemable in any of their parts and accessory stores, or you can apply it to its service, or if you really want to go all out, apply it with a down payment on a new RV. So that's our commercial. And so, Steve, I'm going to come back to you, and folks that just joined us. I see Monica just joined us from Mississippi. Good evening, Monica. Glad to have you on board. And Diane is there, Diane Quayle, who with her husband Martin are the main state directors for Good Sam. We do a lot with Good Sam in New England. They're great people, and they do a lot. I notice you do a lot with the escapees, and we had them on a couple of weeks ago. But to the question that Audrey had about campgrounds, explain how the Workamper works. And I'm not sure if she's asking because she wants to go to them, or if she might be considering later on. And Audrey's a good fan. She comes on quite often, but she's probably on the road. They go out every weekend with a group of people, and they head down to Myrtle Beach, or they go all around. So I'm not sure if some of the people may actually be interested in becoming work campers. But let's take it from a point that somebody signs up as a work camper. How do they find a job? And do they always have the same job? Talk a little bit about what a work camper actually does in the true sense of the word, the ones that are recruited by campgrounds for seasonal help, because we all stay in campgrounds. So at some point in time, whether we knew it or not, we were talking to work campers who happened to be at the campground, and we may have thought they were workers until we learned a little bit more about the industry.
Okay. Well, that's a loaded question, Bob, but I'll focus on the campground itself. Please, your listeners need to realize that campgrounds are just a portion of the work camping opportunities that are out there anymore. We work with thousands of organizations. Literally, we have about 7,000 employers that we work with through the years, and that includes everything from your mom and pop campground that will hire. I classify ourselves as kind of like a mom and pop campground in Athens, Texas. We have, I believe, we're staffed with about 14 work campers right now. And those work campers do everything from take care of front desk operations. Those are the very important individuals that meet and greet your guests when they come. And to the point of all the folks that are out there taking care of the properties so that our properties look very enticing to the individuals when they come. To your larger operations, they're going to have opportunities for people to be activity directors. They're going to have opportunities where you may have specialists that are taking care of their golf courses, their swimming pools, etc. So it just depends upon the size of the operation. Like I said, we have many different organizations that work with us. We also have the national contract with the Army Corps of Engineers, USACE, and we market their various projects around the United States that hire work campers. And a lot of those projects are campground operations, but a lot of them are things like fisheries, dams, etc. And they will hire work camper teams to come in and help operate their facilities.
What about NASCAR tracks, Steve? We see so many RVs at NASCAR tracks, and a lot of them have campgrounds. What about that?
Interesting phenomena. When we purchased Workamper News in 05, the Robuses started this company in 87. Greg Robus, he's a NASCAR fan. I mean, he was just really into it back then, especially. And so we had the Brickyard, we had Las Vegas Speedway, we had the Dallas National. I think there was 2 or 3 others that were hiring work campers and were marketing for them with us. And it slowed down from the standpoint of marketing. And what we found out was they didn't stop hiring work campers, because my wife and I, we took a trip to Talladega, and for anybody, any RVer that's listening, if you haven't experienced Talladega, you need to do it once in your lifetime. That's all I'll tell you.
Steve, were you in the infield, Steve?
No, was not on the infield. I was in when they set me up. They asked me, "How much sleep do you want to get the week you're here?" That was the question they asked me.
Well, I
made the mistake of saying somewhere in the middle. I should have went on the very far conservative end. Yeah. But anyway, we went over there specifically to interview work campers, and because we knew that Talladega had not marketed for work campers for a while. But what took place there and has taken place since is you've developed that NASCAR community, and the RVers have done the very same thing. I know there's groups on Facebook and so on. So they've developed that connection that, those opportunities can be marketed through. And so it's still there, big time. They utilize them especially for, help with everything from parking operations to concessions to you name it.
And there's a case where it's it's not just a seasonal job.
Sorry.
There's a case where it's not just a seasonal job, but it's really for an event, because Talladega is April and October, so they don't keep them on the whole time. But they need them. They need large numbers of people for short periods of time. Steve, I got a specific question for you. I understand that in your prior life, prior to being the owner here, you used to employ work campers at the amusement park. And what was it that you saw in the work ethic of the work campers that was a little bit different than the local teenage market that you had to pick from?
How about if I simply said the difference of night and day? It was, and still to this day, and don't take me wrong, guys, I loved the amusement industry. It provided a lot of phenomenal experience. Kathy and I both worked for Adventureland Amusement Park for a number of years. She was there 30 years. And in fact, we got married in that amusement park, as a matter of fact. And that was 38 years ago. Has
your life been a roller coaster?
Actually, they wanted us to turn it into a PR thing, and we refused. No, it was actually in the town square in the park. Okay. But what we found was I was still hiring, the college age individual, the high school age individual, and even though, and this was back, in the 80s, work ethic was different than it is now. Work ethic is being taught.
I mean, there was a work ethic.
Even at that,
the great none no more.
I'm sorry.
I said there was a work ethic back then, even with teens, but I think it's tapered off.
It's not being taught, and that's it's like anything. If you expect somebody to learn something, it has to be represented to them and shown to them, and not just once, but over and over and over, and have the representation. The work campers that we started hiring, I hired my first work camper in 1990, and I didn't even know what a work camper was. She pounded on my door. I can still see her face. I remember her name. And she says, "I would like to trade out working in your amusement park for a campsite. And that particular RV park has a 300 and some site campground. It's right on property. And so that was our first Workamper. And from there, she introduced me to the concept. She introduced me to Workamper News, which back then was, they put out a monthly news or bi-monthly newsletter that was 3 or 4 pieces of paper stapled together. And they had just a few employers we worked with and a few members. I think they had a couple thousand members at that point in time. And so we started hiring Workampers, and our ownership started seeing the difference take place from everything from the positive letters that they would get from guests.
Very interesting.
To, and a big one for any business owner, the bottom line was improving because the theft was going down.
Interesting.
And
Going down.
Yeah.
And they actually showed up for work.
Yep, they would be there on time. And the interesting part is we still had, my last year I was there, which was 05, I had 410 Workampers out of a seasonal staff of 980 people.
Wow.
And
all right.
What was taking place was we had so many positive role models. We had many of the young folks, literally, in years past that, I was informed by many of the Workampers that I'd befriended that they were invited to graduations and to weddings, etc., because they had become positive role models in these young people's lives. Because many of them don't have maybe a father figure in their life, or they're whatever the case might be. And so it wasn't just a job. That's what I've told people forever. Workamping isn't about getting rich, because it's not. That you will become the wealthiest person around because of the relationships it's going to offer you the opportunity to build.
Okay, Steve, I want to hold you there because we get some great questions from our viewers, and the success of our program is the people who listen, not us guys that talk. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to address a couple of really pertinent things here. First, I want to say hello to Lynn Twyman. She's joining us tonight from Arizona, and Jane Garcia is joining us from San Diego, and we got Bill Muncie from Richmond, Maine. I just left Maine this morning, Bill, left Old Orchard Beach, but I'll be back up this weekend. First question, serious question from Al Jackson. And he says, I'm ready to retire soon, not stop working. How could I get into RV inspection or repair? Background in machinist, machine repair with experience in hydraulics and electrical systems. Any suggestions and website? Before you answer, Steve, Al, we will put links later on. I'll go back in and put a lot of the links that Steve is going to talk about. But Steve, go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, I think with anything, I've had a lot of people through the years tell me, well, I've got lots of practical experience from my past career. I've met a number of home inspectors through the years, and they all tell me, well, what's different about RVs? And of course, I know I'm speaking to the choir with you guys. An RV is just the systems, et cetera, that they have in them compared to a home is so much more complex, and especially the newer they are, the crazier they are.
That's for sure.
And so to answer their question, they need to find a good training resource. And we're not the only game in town with the National RV Training Academy. As far as I'm concerned, and of course, I guess I can be biased.
Sure you can.
We have the best training facility in America right now. And even the RVIA folks who were down to visit us a few weeks ago attested to that. And so highly recommend our program. If they want to become an RV inspector, they've got to get their basic training down, but they also need to learn how to do an inspection. It's not just, a lot of people think we just walk out and look at it and say, yeah, it looks pretty good. Well, no, there's more to it than that. And this really came to light this past 2 years ago now. I won't get into all the different, we have 9 different companies, but we started the National RV Inspectors Association to set a standards of practice for people that wanted to become RV inspectors to follow. We tailored it after the associations of the home inspection industry, so that we had some integrity being built into this process. And we were actually called upon by FEMA last year for the first time to get involved in inspecting travel trailers that they're now putting survivors from the hurricanes into. And some of you probably heard about some of the projects that they're doing. A big one that they just did down in Panama City area in Florida. And we have shown them now, we were just at a FEMA conference 2 weeks ago over in Alabama, why it's necessary to have qualified individuals who know what they're to be looking for, and how a qualified technician can repair it before they ever put an individual into it. So I could go on forever, but it comes down to, to answer their question, they need to look for a good program. And of course, like I said, I'm biased. I recommend that they check out the nrvta.com and get involved in that, go through the training. And along with that, they also need to learn how to develop a business, because it's not just the hands-on turning the wrenches, etc. It's also understanding how to actually operate a business, because they will be an entrepreneur running the business from the road, which is another whole webinar we could do.
Yep.
Okay, I want to jump up quickly. Al, I'm going to put some more, we just posted up the nrvta.com
Hey, Bob.
URL. Yes, John.
Let's just ask Al and just type it in under the comments. Al, we presume because you're watching this show that you already are an RV owner. And Steve, would you agree that if you're an RV owner, it certainly gives you a leg up than just someone who says, I want a part-time job, I think I'll take this course and inspect RVs. You got to really use these babies in order to find out what they're made of, right?
It definitely helps. But on the other side of that fence, we've had a lot of people come through our training to learn about the RV before they ever went out there and started shopping, because they're a much more qualified consumer,
intelligent buyer.
Yep. What they need and what they want.
Yeah.
So it's
exactly
kind of both sides of the fence.
All right. Audrey says, maybe I missed it. Was curious about regions of opportunities. If I go across country and up and down coast, can you assist me in finding opportunities? Tell them how a Workamper member finds their opportunities.
Okay, very good. Yes, we have a number of tools. We publish a bi-monthly magazine in which you will find employers that we break down into the various geographical states that they're in. So what we encourage individuals to do that are work camping is I like to tell people that you need to have a vision of what are you doing in 2020, what are you doing in 21, 22, because a big part of the fun is the journey to prepare to do it. And so using the magazine is a great tool. We have a daily hotline that many of our employers, that we've spoiled them because they can submit an opportunity to us, let's say at 9 a.m. in the morning, and we can have their phone ringing easily within minutes. Because once they submit that ad, there are thousands of our members who have set up their profile. So this individual, let's say that she wanted to work the California Western Seaboard area. She could literally set up her profile so that any opportunities that popped up would RSS feed right to her phone. And so she would have some of the first look at those different opportunities. But then one of my favorite things is we have an online resume tool. We call it Awesome Applicants, because I believe the people that use it are awesome. If they will fill out that resume, we have well over 10 to 15% of our employers that never, ever advertise their opportunities. They use our resume tool, and they sit down, plug in the parameters, what they're looking for, and they search the database from those resumes. So that's just some of the tools we provide. We also provide the Workamper the opportunity to advertise in every one of our magazines, situations wanted that they want for the future. So there's lots of different things, different ways that they can set themselves out there and to be doing their research of where they want to be, where they want to travel, what they want to experience.
Well, you know, I've been putting Workamper and Terry's training and Mark Polk's and everything in one of the sections on my seminars at the RV shows, and I explained to them that, you know, you want to go to Maine, like Audrey just said, I'm already planning 2020 for our group. And this sounds awesome. Thank you. And then Jessica Harrington, who must be one of your work campers, she says a work camper membership is worth it. But I explained to people, if you're in Maine for the summer and you have a discussion with your spouse or your partner and say, where do we want to go in the winter? Well, then you look at applications and jobs in Arizona or California, and then you do that for 6 months. And what I found interesting in the campgrounds before I had my park model, when I would travel, is we would meet the most wonderful work campers, and you'd kind of hope, gee, I hope to get back next year so we can have another catch up on what they've been doing. And even though they may love the campground, they're going to go someplace different, because the experiences that you provide them and the opportunities that you provide them to pretty much work anywhere that they want to work, because there's so many campgrounds and facilities that hire work campers. Am I off based on that, or should I change my seminar, Steve?
No, you're doing great. In fact, just cry it out louder from a higher mountain. That'd be great.
Hey, Steve, you can see the interest based on the comments here, but there are going to be thousands of other people that view this show in the next week or so. And Bob, we'll get into our commercial in just a second. Let me ask you the question, then you can think of the answer. But are there existing work campers that you have contact with that if any of our prospective people are interested, they can talk to them directly and say, hey, is it something that you think I'd be interested in doing based upon my, number one, my personality, based upon my skill sets, and based upon the fact that I don't want to be in the cold? Go ahead, answer that first.
You're not going to commercial? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. What we do, because we respect the privacy of our members.
Yeah.
We have an individual who would like to visit with someone. They can contact Workamper News, and we will literally put that information out that we have someone who would like to have a phone call or a Skype call or something of that line.
Yep. Because
that's great.
If they can hear it directly, an engineer to an engineer versus somebody who is, got a totally different background than them, I think helps much more.
All right, let's squeeze in our commercials in your share, John.
Yeah. So effectively, folks, what we want to do again is thank you for joining us this evening. We still got a lot of show left. I've got several other questions that I want to ask Mr. Anderson before we're done. But we want to ask you to just see that button that Bob has put up there. Don't click on that, because it's not going to do you any good. You got to go down below on your screen and just hit the share button. Send it to anybody you know that you think would have an interest in this topic. And even if they don't, they might hear about the topic and then be very interested afterward. So only through the help of our live audience can we continue to reach that large number of people that we do on a weekly basis. Bob?
Okay, and our sponsor this week, the last week of our 9-week of contest in April and May, is Pete's RV Center, headquartered in South Burlington, Vermont, with facilities in Connecticut and Massachusetts. You can find them at petesrv.com. You can also find them at the Rutland, Vermont Fairgrounds now through the end of June. They have 100 RVs down there with Pete's RV Roadshow, and you can meet some of the staff and then head back up to South Burlington. Also, enter our contest this week, Pete's being the sponsor. The winner gets a $100 gift certificate, redeemable at the parts and accessory store, in the service department, or even put it down towards a down payment on a new RV. So we appreciate the support of all of our sponsors the last 9 weeks, especially Pete's RV this week. Thank you very much. All right, John, you got some questions for Steve?
Yeah, Steve, on the thing about getting references from existing people, I think is so important. And I'm glad that you already have a mechanism for that people can contact you and say, hey, I want to talk to somebody, and find out from their perspective if it's something that they think I'd enjoy doing. My other question is this. You don't just, and I think you alluded to this right in the first couple minutes of the show. Number one, you don't just work in campgrounds, so it's not restricted to that. But secondly, you can do a job in another company that you're already doing in your existing career that new company may have a need for. So you don't have to learn a new skill. You don't have to go from being a computer operator to operating a brush and a shovel. You can still do what you love to do, but do it on a temporary basis. Is that right?
That's very true. Very true. There's literally, if this would be a stat I would like to know, but I'm sure I'll never be able to find it out. I would like to know how many Workampers Walmart Corporation has, because once they learn their POS system, they can go to any Walmart in the United States and work. And I've run in Walmarts around the country, and I'll notice their shirt. Maybe it says, "I love camping," or "I'd love to be camping," or whatever. So I'll strike up conversation, and they'll say, "Well, I'm not a Workamper." I says, "Oh, you're not?" "No, I live in an RV and I work here at Walmart." I says, "Well, that's the problem. You're trying to put too much of a wrapper on this. You're a Workamper if you live in an RV and you work, and so don't try and make it crazier than it really is." And so, but you're right. There's a lot of folks out there that have talents that if they would market them, and that's something else that we get into educating people about, is a lot of folks have never had to market themselves. We have a lot of people that come to us that have never, ever done a resume, and which I find very interesting in this day and age, but it's the reality. And so we help them to be able to actually market themselves. I have an online training course called Marketing 101, just kind of give some basic marketing tips to individuals to be able to put themselves into the different types of opportunities they like to see themselves in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Audrey's got another comment. Go ahead, John.
Bob, before you go into that, let me just say one thing about Audrey. And I know I was going to say, let me say this before you talk about her question. But Audrey is a high-tech person and works in America's Technology Highway, Route 128. And she has a skill set that if she took it to other parts of the country, because New England is really along with areas of California, are the high-tech hotbeds of the United States. Maybe Audrey taking her skill set to the South or areas that are more sparsely populated, she could continue doing what she does, but do it in a different geography.
Sure. Yeah. And her question is, she said, her statement here says, my focus on camping now is a different front yard while I'm traveling from the sticks and bricks. But in the future, I want to travel extensively and would love to spend time in our great destinations and possibly catch some work camping sessions along the way. This info is pretty incredible. Well, it is. And that's why I wanted to have Steve on. I mean, I won't say it's a big secret in the RV industry, but we as an industry don't promote it enough. And you'll go back to something else that you said earlier, Steve, that the new generation of RVers, the younger people, the young adults, that they don't own a home, they don't want to own a home, but they own an RV and they go around and they work, and they may have a skill set. So they may be a software developer, they may be a publisher or a writer, but couldn't they also be a work camper in the sense that as a work camper, many times, and correct me if I'm wrong, but many times you get your site free of charge and you're earning money along the way. So if they got a site free of charge, number one, they could still do their primary job of publishing or writing software, and then they still get the site free, and then they earn money in the campground working 10, 20 hours a week. Do you see that scenario coming up now with the younger generations?
I mean, that's a scenario that works for anyone, truly. And yes, and you're right on, Bob, just exactly what you're saying. Many of the opportunities that are out there are trade out only. That means you might work 15, 20 hours a week for trade for the sites. We train our members to understand how to evaluate what's a good deal and what isn't. And there's others that'll pay an hourly wage besides provide the site. Well, as I tell our small biz entrepreneur folks, imagine having the best of all worlds. You develop, and I'll just utilize becoming an RV inspector, for instance. You decide you want to go to a geographical area, work in that area as an RV inspector. Well, why not, instead of going to a campground and paying to stay in that campground, see if you can develop a work camping relationship where they can give you a little flexibility because you're going to be booking inspections and so on. And if you can do something for them, they can provide you the flexibility. They provide you the campsite. So now, if you've got your RV paid for, now you're not having a cost of living to park that RV. You see what you've just done for your economics? It's phenomenal.
Take that one step further. If I'm a campground owner and I've got an RV inspector under that scenario, I say to them, look, how about if on Saturdays we promote you in the campground here to do RV inspections for people who might be thinking about trading their RV and wanting to see what the value is. And the campground might get a percentage of his inspection or his or her inspection fee. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you could run with this on.
Absolutely. In fact, we've had many of our inspectors who have done seminars. They've done presentations. It wasn't that long ago when we started NRVIA about 6-7 years ago, just to help people understand, why would you not get an RV inspected before you buy it? You had your home inspected. And I don't have to tell you guys,
right.
we're spending as much for these RVs today, for some of them, as you did for your home.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
More,
Yep. Exactly. So campgrounds is only a minor group population-wise. But Steve, are there any figures out there anywhere that say the number of work campers that are in the United States right now? And secondly, how many people, how big is your group, your audience that, subscribe to your publication and other units?
Well, I wish your first part of your question is how many are out there. I would love to have some type of a census where we could grab that information. Just doesn't exist. KOA Corporation has given some stabs at it through the years. So the last one I heard them throw out was they estimated roughly 1 million plus living full-time on the road, which I'm going to say, based upon our survey statistics of our membership, which we vacillate between 60 and 80,000, and based upon that, roughly 60% of them are full-timers. So I don't know whether that number's accurate. 1 million probably is, but
okay.
The number is growing, definitely. When I bought Workamper News in 2005, KOA was estimating about 550 to 650,000.
And now now it's almost double.
Yeah.
Now they're saying double.
Steve, I just put workampernews.com, the URL, up on our screen for our viewers tonight. Is that the best site for them to go to if they want to, learn about the academy and the university, if they want to sign up for one of your 4 programs, if they want to get themselves into the program, or is there someplace else that you might want to direct them?
Actually, it's workamper.com. That's it.
Just
no Workamper News. Just
okay.
Workamper.com. That's our parent site. Mm-hmm. And that'll be the very best place to take them, for them to go and check us out. Also would encourage them, if they're thinking about RV maintenance and training and so on, they need to be checking out NRVTA. Encourage them to check out NRVIA.org. It's an organization. Robin's sitting here with me, as you know, and Dana, who's my COO, is texting her saying, we need to make these guys a special offer.
And folks,
I was thinking that same thing.
Our fans know us so well. They know we don't script this show. So that idea came out of Arkansas. That idea didn't come out of Massachusetts.
Same thing.
So, but I like the way you're thinking, and you got the floor, Mr. Anderson. Whatever offer you want to make them.
All right. Well, I'm reading this right off of Dana's text to us. She says, tell them to use promo code FBLIVE, FBLIVE, and we'll add an additional 2 months to the membership.
Okay, FB like Facebook, LIVE. That's the code when they go to workamper.com and sign up for any of the. There's 3 levels that are one's free, but any of the 3 levels you'll give them.
We'll add 2 additional months.
You'll add 2 additional months. All right. Okay. We'll put that. We'll make sure we put that into the notes afterwards. And for Al and anybody else interested in the websites, we'll put the URLs for the NRVTA and the NRVIA and also the Texan RV Ranch. Now, is there also? I remember when I talked to Terry Cooper because we had Terry Cooper on last year, and I got to bring him on again because you guys have done so much, and that building is absolutely incredible. I mean, what you've done down there. But if somebody's on vacation and they go and stay at your park, do you do repairs on their units? Do you use them as getting? If you go to the cosmetology school, they got Do you guys do anything like that for visitors that are in the park?
The individuals in the park, we're staying out of becoming a repair center because, as you know, from a business and liability agenda, that's a whole different animal.
Sure.
But we definitely, the students that come to our courses, the large majority of them actually stay in our campground in their RVs. And as you might guess, as they're going through the courses, they'll go home and they'll say, well, no, my air conditioner's been doing this. This is what I learned today. And so those RVs become their own personal labs. Absolutely. So we have quite a few different RVs. Many of them have been donated by different individuals for us to use for training. I shouldn't say just individuals. We've had some great organizations like Lippert and some of them who have really jumped on board providing us with great training facilities and materials. But you're right, Bob, they do. They utilize those RVs, and many of them will tell us the repairs the money they saved on the repairs that they made almost paid for the course or did pay for the course.
Okay. Well, Terry said, now there's one thing you haven't mentioned, and I'm sorry to cut you there, John, but Terry's always said that 80% of the things that go wrong with an RV, somebody with a little bit of skill, probably not me because I can turn the key and drive it, but 80% can be taught very easily. And I know that was one of the things that he would always talk about when we talked about training. But what about your what is it, the course, the RV Tech course in a box? You still doing that?
Absolutely. What's happening, Bob, is many folks are taking that course, and one of the things that Mr. Cooper learned many years ago, especially by developing the course that he had there for the Texas RV Association in Waco, working in an RV, it's a difficult thing to just learn by sitting in front of a computer screen without actually physically putting your hands on it. And even though we take them through training in the RV Tech course in a box, we have a large percentage of the folks that have taken that course that are now coming for the live hands-on training to have a live instructor as well as the training bays and the RVs, etc. So it's a combination. It's a tiered thing that we're finding is working. But the biggest thing is they just need to be willing to step out of their box, not be fearful, and realize they can learn how to take care of their RV. And like you said, it may not be, fixing the most dramatic thing that might take place, but if you'll learn how to take care of the RV, do the correct maintenance, you're going to reduce a lot of the things that go wrong with these RVs.
Yeah. That's fantastic. We are right up to 8 o'clock, and I think we could go on for another hour, but we always want to be respectful of our guests and the time that you've taken tonight. And I know we did this to you on short notice, and you jumped through hoops, and we really appreciate it. Al Jackson has one last comment. He says, for some reason, I'm about 15 minutes behind, but yes, I've owned several RVs, done a lot of work on RVs, but as a skilled trade person, I respect the difference between an amateur and a true pro. And I think, what Steve Anderson and Terry Cooper have done, what they've done with the Workampers, with the trainers, they've done a valuable service for the RV industry. We don't have enough techs. We need more certified techs. We need as much training as we can get, anywhere that we can get it. So I would encourage people to check out all of their websites, whether it just be for a work camping assignment or to learn about becoming an inspector or a technician. John, I cut you off several times.
No, I just had
a couple of more questions before we give Steve the last wrap up.
To really see if Steve is legit or not. Here's my question, Steve. Have you ever run the popcorn machine?
Have I ever run a popcorn machine? Absolutely. You forget I worked in an amusement park for a
Well,
lot
that's
of years.
exactly why. That's exactly why. Because you know what? You get to executive levels in the amusement park, but everybody who's been in the entertainment business, the live entertainment business, has run a popcorn machine. And you have passed the test. Now you are legitimate.
All right.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Steve, we'll give you the last say, Steve, and thank you from our perspective.
Well, thanks for having us on this evening. I'm sorry our technology didn't come through for us. The storm has passed here in Arkansas, and it's lightening up. I just want to encourage every one of your listeners, Bob, to think about their dreams. Think about what it is that they want for their future. And that's what I have found through the thousands of members we've had, the people that I've met. We didn't get into talking about our rendezvous experience that we have every October, but when we have about 250 people come to that, many of them come at the beginning of the week saying this is something that they see in their future, maybe 5 years, 10 years. Many of them leave saying, we can do this year. And a lot of it just comes down to getting the education, learning what's out there, and realizing that sometimes those dreams can be accelerated to travel this great country in an RV.
Well, we may have to have you back later on in the year to talk about, but quickly on the rendezvous, because that's fascinating. And I know on your website, you have a list of all the instructors and the different types of courses that you do. What percentage of the people that go to rendezvous are currently not doing work? What is it for the new people that want to learn, or do you have people that come back every year for refresher courses?
Last year, Bob, we had right at about 70% were what we call dreamers, folks that actually haven't gotten into the lifestyle. And then the other 30% were actually folks that, some of them are the folks that have come to rendezvous every year. It's just become a part of their training regimen in the lifestyle. But a large portion of it, it's a great opportunity to connect with other individuals that are doing it, other like-minded individuals, as well as get a lot of great training that they can utilize to get into the lifestyle.
Well, I suspect Jessica Harrington is a graduate of the rendezvous because she just typed out here it's dream, but it's DREAMMMMMMS exclamation point.
Got an M.
Sounds like a graduate to me.
Sounds good to me too.
All right. Well, look at everybody. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We knew it was going to be a good show. And even though the technology failed you on your end, Steve, it works for us on this end because I've been holding the phone all night while you're doing this. And we've never done that before either. So we always manage to get through a show. We really appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Hope that weather clears up down there. Don't send it up to Boston. We got enough rainy stuff already. And we will see everybody next week. Thanks, Steve.
Everybody.
Thanks, Bob. Bye-bye.